Valorant. From the new characters to all the abilities, we're going to be covering everything in Valorant we know so far. And if you guys are as excited as I am for Valorant, then you need to subscribe to our newest YouTube channel, ProGuides Valorant. We'll be uploading tons of breaking news, tips, tricks, and more. So click on the button up here or there to subscribe. And as always, our question of the day, what excites you most about Valorant? For me, as a CSGO player and enthusiast, and someone who actually didn't really get into Overwatch at all, I'm super excited for it to be a little bit of a blend of both, but more on the CSGO side. I'm really excited for the abilities. I think there's going to be a ton of skill expression in the game. It looks absolutely beautiful, and everyone who's played it thus far says it's one of the best games they've ever played. So I'm super stoked. I hope you guys are super stoked too, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. All right, guys, let's get right into it. Okay, so for starters, this game has been in the production line at Riot for 6 long years so far. With that much time comes some really excellent ideas, and this absolutely shines in the game design we've seen so far. The smooth, simplistic, non-clutter graphics complement the clean corners and the fast-paced gunplay. Bomb sites have been renamed reactors, and the bomb itself is called a spike. Valorant knows no smokes, grenades, or molotovs, but a set of abilities unique to each of the current 8 characters. Riot has confirmed that there will be 12 total characters upon release, leaving the fans hungry to see what might be released before then. We'll talk about each character and their abilities more in depth later on in the video though, so stick around. The gameplay trailer Riot released on March 2nd gives us some insight as to how the abilities will work in Valorant. Each character will have 4 abilities which will take the place of utility, just like your utility in CSGO or Apex Legends. These abilities will all have huge combo potential not only within each character's kit, but across an entire team. Characters will have a signature ability, 2 secondary abilities, and an ultimate. First off, signature abilities are abilities that your character will start off with in each round. For example, Jett's Tailwind ability is a dash that has 1 charge per round. Signature abilities can be charged with kills during each round and are replenished if a certain amount of kills required are reached. Next up, each character's secondary abilities are purchasable in the buy menu before the round. They require the same cash to purchase them as weapons and armor. These will typically be weaker or less cost-efficient abilities like Jett's Cloudburst, which is just the equivalent of a short smoke grenade. These abilities will give your team small advantages and maybe some openings in a round, but come with an economic investment. Each character's ultimate is by far their most powerful tool. An ultimate ability in Valorant takes 6 to 8 kills to charge, which might clue you into how powerful they are. Notably, most of these ultimates still require some level of skill to get value out of them, in contrast to Overwatch, where most ultimates will give you an overwhelming advantage when you stack them. Riot has placed heavy emphasis on the gunplay being the most important aspect of Valorant. They want their game to be balanced in the sense that no one ability can end a round as soon as it's used. Personally, I really like this way at looking at balancing a game, as there will be a stress on being skillful with your ability usage instead of just spamming them, and that was one of the biggest problems I had with Overwatch. One interesting thing to note about the signature abilities is that not all of them recharge with 2 kills. Some of them, such as Sage's Healing Orb, are on cooldown. They recharge on their own after using them. This could be a mechanic exclusive to the support class characters opposed to the aggressive characters like Jett, who need 2 kills to recharge her signature. Our in-house analysts believe the denial abilities will be incredibly strong. A well-placed AoE ability could help control the map in your team's favor, creating openings in the enemy's lineup and giving you opportunities to score free frags. Phoenix's secondary ability, Hot Hands, is going to be great at forcing your enemies out of powerful positions. With the abundance of AoE abilities, campers will never feel safe in Valorant. Don't click away just yet, because we'll be covering the characters, their abilities, and how they're useful later on in the video. Moving on, CSGO is easily the closest game on the market to Valorant. With practically the same aim styles, pace of the game, movement, and more, CSGO players will be well conditioned for the release of Valorant. Higher level players will quickly grasp ability combos, such as pop flashing your opponents while your teammate aggressively peeks, or utilizing smoke abilities to avoid the gaze of a sniper rifle. One of the coolest concepts we've come across is playing defense on the 3 bomb site maps. CSGO players might have trouble adapting adapting to spreading their defense paper thin to cover a map with more avenues than they're used to. Our CSGO coaches on ProGuides think that retakes will be especially prominent in Valorant because holding a bomb site 1 versus 5 isn't always possible. Defenders might instead look to stall time for their team to rotate in and retake the bomb site, closing out the round with a spike defusal. Any of you familiar with bunny hopping might also be especially good at racing to choke points after the prep phase to find the opening frag. Playtesters have confirmed that there will be movement mechanics very similar to CS, including bunny hopping, strafe jumping, and strafe hopping. Our experts recommend spending some time in Counter-Strike to get a feel for the style of the game if you're looking to get into Valorant. Overwatch players, you'll need to adapt to the slower pace and more calculated way you'll have to use your abilities. Since you're going to have to purchase secondary abilities and will likely only get a few ults a game, blowing an ability to get no value could be very, very punishing for you and your team. Knowing the perfect time to use your ultimate can oftentimes mean the difference between a won and lost round in Valorant. Ultimate management will be a huge thing, which is something Overwatch players will have to get experience with. Not only will ult tracking be a very valuable skill, but coordinating ability and ultimate usage will ensure your team stays ahead in the economic battle. This is pretty familiar to League of Legends players as well. Tank and healers might want to learn a hit scan DPS like McCree or Widowmaker to prepare for the aim-intensive Valorant, which may prove to be a challenge to those without refined aim. Tracer mains who practice their aim should have a pretty reasonable time adjusting to Valorant. An important thing to note is that there are no ultimate counters we've seen so far, so holding your ultimate in hopes of a reactive play is something you probably won't find in this game. Sorry, Zenyatta and Lucio players. And of course, Mercy's Resurrect is reborn in Valorant as Sage's ultimate. Our experts predict that this ability will be an extremely powerful one at all levels of play and won't be too difficult to make effective. And finally, the last game we'll be comparing Valorant to is Apex Legends. If you play ranked in Apex, you're probably familiar with the aim trainer. Whether it be Kovacs, Aim Hero, or the practice range, practicing your aim is an awesome way to prepare for the release of Valorant. As Riot is placing a big emphasis on gunplay, having strong mechanics will naturally set you ahead of the pack. Apex players will be quick to grasp the ability usage, as Apex abilities are often viewed as teamfight utility rather than spammable damage output. If you've played the new Legend Reverent, you'll love the Valorant characters Phoenix and Omen. Both of their ultimates loosely resemble that of Reverence. We'll cover those ultimates later in the video though. The fast pace of the game will take some adjusting to by most players, as the mid-game of Apex can be pretty slow at times. Players will be used to the movement mechanics, especially bunny hopping, and if not, will pick up those skills pretty fast. Other than that, the closed maps might feel a little bit claustrophobic for Apex players, but at the same time, makes it a lot easier to focus on one angle at a time. Okay, let's go over each hero and each ability. Let's start off with Phoenix. Phoenix is a support fragger, not to be confused with the support class. He often wants to be the second player in, trading kills alongside your entry fragger. Phoenix's signature ability is Curveball, which is a powerful curved flashbang. It can be thrown with a left curve or a right curve. This ability can set up free kills for your entry fragger if coordinated well. This is also why Phoenix doesn't want to be the first one in, because it'll probably be hard to flash for yourself with curved flashes. His secondary abilities are Hot Hands and Blaze. Hot Hands throws a fireball that explodes after a delay or upon impact with the ground, leaving a burning area below the explosion. The fire zone damages enemies and heals you. This is a powerful tool for area denial and forcing enemies out of powerful positions, such as tight corners or head glitches. It's very reminiscent of the Molotov in CSGO. I think that most CSGO players will know how to use this character pretty well if they understand how to use utility in CSGO. Let's get on to his other ability, Blaze. Blaze casts a wall of fire that blocks out vision and damages those who pass through it. This wall can also be bent while casting, which is super cool and an interesting aspect of the ability. Phoenix's ultimate Run It Back marks your current location. While the ability is active or until you die, you'll respawn at the marked location with full HP. That is an awesome, awesome ability. I can't wait to try that one out. Okay, let's now go on to Jett. Jett will be an aggressive, kill-hungry slayer in Valorant. Her movement abilities are unmatched in their speed and utility in winning firefights. You'll certainly be seeing her on the front line entry fragging and leading the charge. Her secondary abilities are are Cloudburst and Updraft. Cloudburst is a standard smoke grenade that CSGO players will find lasts for a much shorter duration, a few seconds at most. This ability can be purchased in multiple charges though, so that makes it a lot more effective. Her next ability is Updraft. After a brief channel, an updraft of wind will lift Jet into the air. Think of this ability like a super jump. I bet players will be incredibly creative with this ability for taking off angles, repositioning, or even going for trick shots. Jet's signature ability, Tailwind, will immediately dash a short distance in the direction you're moving. This is going to be used to speed up rotations, reposition during the round, and maybe during a firefight to land the killing blow. Her ultimate is going to be called Bladestorm. Bladestorm will arm Jet with several deadly throwing knives that deal moderate damage and kill on headshots. Scoring a kill will restore all the daggers, so you'll want to secure kills with this ability to get the most value possible. Left click will throw a single dagger, while right click throws all remaining daggers in a short-ranged burst. Zenyatta mains might want to give her a try. I think that they will be quite good with her. Okay, now on to Viper. Viper will be a powerful character in area control. The toxic screen being available each round as a signature ability will allow for more advanced setups, blocking off strong lines of sight. She will be a super versatile pick and can be played close up or long range. Viper's signature ability, Toxic Screen, can be used offensively and defensively, as you can use it to close distance and get the jump on your opponent, or just use it to block damage. It should also be noted that you can pull the wall up or down at the cost of fuel. Viper's secondary abilities, Snakebite and Poison Cloud, will be where a lot of her area control comes into play, as you can block off pathways with a damaging pool of acid with Snakebite and create a poisonous smoke cloud at the cost of some more fuel with her ability Poison Cloud, which can be picked up and thrown again after a cooldown. Viper's Pit is her ultimate ability, and she sends out a large toxic cloud that will stay as long as Viper stays inside it. Here's the interesting part of this ability. All of the enemies inside of Viper's Pit will actually be highlighted to her. That sounds pretty OP to me if she is being hidden, but we'll see how that's balanced. Okay, now on to Sova. Sova is a hunter and should be played as such. His abilities will give him plenty of opportunities to scout for enemies. For his signature ability, Recon Bolt, he will shoot a sonar arrow that will ping nearby enemies exactly like Hanzo's sonic arrow, or maybe even like Ash's arrow. That's kind of fun. For Sova's second ability, he has a shock bolt which will explode on impact, and an owl drone, which is a recon drone that highlights enemies who are hit. And last, we have Sova's ultimate, Hunter's Fury, which he shoots 3 high damage blasts that will go across for quite a while and mark enemies it hits on its way. Wow, this guy is very reminiscent of Ash. Maybe it's Ash's boyfriend, or I don't even know. He looks pretty cool though. Okay, now on to Cypher. Cypher is a defensive type of character who reminds me of a mix of Rainbow Six Siege operators and some other strange characters. His signature ability, Spy Cam, is where he places a remote camera, and while viewing the camera, he has the ability to fire a tracking dart which will be replaced when picked up or killed. Cypher's secondary abilities are Trapwire and Cyber Cage. Trapwire is a tripwire you can set up between walls, and when activated, stuns the trapped enemy. Cyber Cage is a remotely activated trap that slows down enemies who pass through it. Cypher's ultimate, Neural Theft, is very similar to Caveira from Rainbow Six Siege, I hope I said that name right, who can interrogate a downed enemy to reveal the living enemies. Next up, we have Brimstone, who is an absolute machine of brains and brawn. Our experts predict that Brimstone is going to be one of the strongest, if not the strongest character in Valorant. For his secondary abilities, he's got an incendiary grenade, similar to CSGO's Molotov. He's got a stim beacon, increasing his teammates' rate of fire, but his signature ability is a set of global range smoke grenades, which will be incredibly powerful to create fakes and set up executes. And to top it all off, his ultimate is an airstrike that can be called anywhere on the map. This character is going to be an absolute blast to play and will require very strong understanding of utility and map awareness. So honestly, us League players, we could probably play this guy pretty well. Okay, now on to Sage. Sage is a support character with the power to pardon your teammates' mistakes by either healing, blocking, or even bringing them back to life. She will definitely not be in the front line, but instead waiting to trade kills and support her team from behind. Sage's signature ability, Healing Orb, will allow her to heal herself or her teammates up to 100 HP. Her secondary abilities are Slow Orb and Barrier Orb. Both of these abilities are very supportive with how they will be used in the game. Slow Orb will create a field on the ground that causes players to be slowed and grounded, and will cause them to make an audio cue. The Barrier Orb will create a large wall very similar to Mei's Ice Wall in Overwatch. And finally, Sage's ultimate, Resurrection. This one will be identical to Mercy's Resurrection. Okay, now let's talk about Omen for a little bit. One of Omen's secondary abilities will be Paranoia, and with the ability, he will nearsight anyone he hits with it. We haven't seen any gameplay of this character yet, but we are making our best guesses as to how his abilities work. Nearsighting someone will most likely consist of giving them an almost completely black screen with minimal vision. His secondary ability is Shadow Walk, which we are almost certain will be exactly like Reaper's Shadow Step from Overwatch. Omen's signature ability, though, is Dark Cover, which might act like a smoke grenade that you can charge up for greater distance throws. Lastly, Omen's ultimate, From the Shadows, will allow him to teleport to anywhere on the map, and when you're killed, you will respawn from where you teleported from. We can't be sure whether or not you can kill people while in his ultimate, or if it'll just be used for scouting, as we haven't seen any Omen gameplay as of yet. Okay, so those are all the characters, and once again, can we just look at this real quick? Doesn't this look like grown-up Echo and Akali? Yeah, it really does seem that way. Okay, now let's talk about the round format, because this is quite interesting. Once again, Counter-Strike players are going to find themselves having an easy transition into Valorant with its round-based gameplay. Each game will be a best of 24, requiring one team to win 13 rounds for a game win, and in the event of a tie, we can assume that there will be an overtime in ranked play and tournament play. Each round will consist of a 30-second buy and prep phase, and when that time is up, the play phase starts with a 1 minute and 40-second timer. There are a total of 4 separate ways to win a round as of right now. The first way to win a round is by simply eliminating all enemies on the map. The second way is by planting a spike and letting the time run out. But be careful, because if you don't set up well enough to defend the spike, the defenders can win themselves a round by deactivating the spike. And finally, the last way to win a round is by letting the timer run out. We can assume that the defenders will automatically win the round if this happens, just like in CSGO. Okay, now let's take a look at the maps. Even though we haven't gotten every corner of every map, Valorant has made a bold statement with its map design. With Counter-Strike map creator Volcano working with Riot to create beautiful no-cluster maps, you'll notice that a lot of the interesting visual detail is outside of the main combat zones. Frequently, map art is placed above a choke point or outside the playable area. This is purposefully done to keep combat clean and keep unnecessary detail from interfering with the game. Volcano and his team have managed to execute this so well that the maps are still beautiful and interesting without being too cluttered. Moving on to the layout of the maps, we can see that they are intentionally designed around their major choke points. The maps have 2 to 3 reactors or bomb sites with routes on either side and usually a middle lane. Valorant will be all about fighting over map control, especially at major choke points and bomb sites. Choke points serve as great natural cover for both teams to fight at, but tends to favor the defending team. Through use of smokescreen abilities and careful positioning, chokes will be easier to push through than ever before in a shooter. The tools at the disposal of the attackers will help to neutralize defenders' advantages and keep the playing field level. High ground seems very valuable on the defending side, almost always a strong angle to take fights with. On 3 reactor maps, though, the defenders will be spread thin to cover as many choke points as possible. However, if they let an attacker slip by, it could turn into a devastating flank. Being in the enemy backline, or even them being aware of the possibility, is a great way to apply pressure on either side. Okay, so let's talk about how Riot is committing to the accessibility of this game. One of the most impressive things about Riot games right now is their commitment to making the game fun and accessible to all players while keeping the competitive hype real. Riot is keeping the game incredibly cheap, with Valorant being a free-to-play title, and even making the game less graphic intensive so that players with older PC builds, or toasters as we call them, can still play the game and feel competitive. Riot's next big fix is changing the FPS game. On launch, the game will have 128 tick servers and vastly improved netcode to finally stop that pesky peakers advantage that FPS games have been struggling with for years. Not only are these servers going to be 128 ticks, but 70% of the player base will be under 35 ms, as servers will be located in many major cities. They are preparing for this, as Riot's last but definitely not least commitment to the game is their proprietary anti-cheat on launch day. My god, we needed this in CSGO. Thank the Lord Riot has decided to do this. To prevent wall hacks, a new fog of war system is being put to the test by hiding players' locations until just before you make contact with the enemy. Valorant is putting a hard stop to speed hacks and teleportation hacks with their server authoritative game base. Valorant will be putting in a new anti-cheat platform called Vanguard, which will have constantly adapting detection methods with the ability to instantly ban cheaters, as well as Riot's previous anti-tamper system used in League of Legends. These cheaters won't stand a chance against the two systems combined. Thank you, Riot. You have finally given us an incredible FPS competitive game. Okay, now let's talk about the economy in Valorant. The Valorant economy system is going to feel very similar to Counter-Strike players that will consist of a buy menu of weapons and equipment, but with the addition of abilities. First off, let's talk about how you earn money by round. We don't know the official currency for Valorant, so we're just going to use dollars in place. What we do know so far is that you will collect $3,000 for each round win, but only $1,900 for a loss. As a balance to this, they took the Counter-Strike's approach to loss bonuses. For every round lost in a row, you will scale upwards from that $1,900 up to a $2,900 loss bonus. Every kill you get in the round will grant you a $200 bonus, as well as working towards your ultimate ability. The last way to earn money as we know of right now is planting, and for doing so you get awarded a $300 bonus and a small bonus for defusal. Managing your economy is going to be a huge part of Valorant, but you will have two separate economies to manage. An example for managing your ultimate economy is that you wouldn't want to use your ultimate in a fight that is already won or lost, but rather to swing a fight in your favor when it's winnable but not secured. And an example for managing your money economy is with buy rounds and save rounds, almost identical to Counter-Strike. For those of you who are interested in understanding that, you can actually go to ProGuides.com. We have a ton of Counter-Strike content on there that could help you if you guys are already pro members for League of Legends. Another tough economic dilemma will be whether or not to choose between abilities versus equipment. I have a good feeling Overwatch players will sway towards choosing abilities, while Counter-Strike players will probably focus on buying equipment. With the buy menu being a similar setup to Counter-Strike's, almost all players will have an easy transition into navigating the menu. I can't wait to see how many games will be swayed based on teams' abilities to buy together and manage their ultimates. Teamwork and comms are going to be so important. Hopefully there's built-in comms and we don't have to type like in League of Legends. My god, that would be a disaster. That's it for our Valorant video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is what we have so far, but we're going to keep you guys updated on all the news, all the tips and tricks that we learn if you guys subscribe to our new Valorant YouTube channel. Once again, guys, it's been Christoph. Thank you so much for watching, and good luck in your next few games.